The news, which is not surprising, we discussed it 24 hours ago on this program, is the SEC kind of punting a decision on ETF applications for many names. But what have you made of everything that's happened in the last 7 to 10 days?
Well, BTC Bitcoin matures along two distinct but very closely related paths. That's Bitcoin, the asset, and then Bitcoin protocol and technologies, including Bitcoin's Lightning Network, its payment protocol. The Grayscale victory over the SEC earlier this week is a significant advancement for the maturation and adoption of BTC, the asset, because it makes a spot ETF much more likely. It also limited the arguments that the SEC can advance in the future in denying spot ETFs. And particularly what the court found to be challenging or problematic was the approval of a Bitcoin futures ETF, while the SEC continued to reject Bitcoin spot ETFs, with the argument, of course, that surveillance sharing agreements were insufficient, or that there was potential for the practice of manipulation in those markets. And so what that means is that for the SEC to continue rejecting or denying a Bitcoin spot ETF, they'll have to form a new argument, and one that would be distinct in its properties from future ETFs. And that moves up the timeline for which we expect to see a spot ETF.
We consider the basics of why this is happening. You know, the argument from those that have filed applications is that the ETF would give retail and institutional investors just a mechanism to have exposure. You are a VC that invests in Bitcoin companies. So how do you play this longer term story? Where do you invest to benefit in the longer run if a Bitcoin spot ETF does become authorized?
Well, so the expectation that a spot ETF will become authorized exists in a sort of ecosystem of activity in which we see BTC, the asset, further financializing and maturing. And so we're investing there. An example of this is that we recently made an investment in a company called Meanwhile, which is the first company to offer a BTC-denominated whole life insurance policy, which has the effect of further financializing Bitcoin as an asset. At the same time, there's advancements happening in Bitcoin payments technologies, including to facilitate the introduction of Bitcoin payment technologies, Lightning Network specifically, to match the needs of other trends that we've seen in the tech field, and in particular AI.
I want to go there. You know, the Bitcoin Lightning Network was something we discussed heavily, you know, not in 2023 or the end of 2022, but in prior years. Now, with all of the momentum in AI, how do you see AI putting momentum back into a focus on the underlying technology for Bitcoin?
What's really exciting is that Bitcoin developed slowly and purposely. So Bitcoin technologies and Lightning Network in particular was developed to solve global scale problems. It wasn't developed to introduce a quick trend or to service speculative behavior or gambling, but really it was meant to serve as a payments infrastructure that was secure and scalable. And this is what AI needs. So we know as AI has become commercialized and we're seeing products like ChatGPT and others flourish and become popular, that fraud and payments and chargebacks have become a problem for those companies, which curtails our addressable market. And one of the advantages of Bitcoin's Lightning Network as a payment solution is that settlement is instant. So if you're instantly transmitting value or a product, you can instantly settle that transaction and mitigate or completely assuage the risk of chargebacks and that sort of fraud. And in addition to that, because Lightning Network was purpose-built, it scales without the constraint of the underlying blockchain, which means that activity in the underlying Bitcoin blockchain doesn't curtail the amount of transactions per second that are possible on the Lightning Network. And for AI, that's absolutely necessary. You need to hit scale of millions of transactions per second or more in order to service the needs of AI companies, and Lightning Network can uniquely do that.